Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ecosystem Session. We've got Pegah and Connor from Sprillow with us today.
Hi.
Yeah, and my time check. So it's a date check. So it's the 1st of April, 2021. Yeah, and it's kind of I really had a wonderful time with you towards the end of last year, wasn't it, when we were chatting?
Yeah. For the first Acorn catch up that we did.
Jared was telling me it was I'm not sure if it still is, the most watched ecosystem session. So
interesting. Cool that it inspires that that enthusiasm. Yeah, that kind of catches me by surprise because I felt like we were really just roughing it. But sometimes the rough cut's the best.
You never know. So yeah, I think that the team have been requesting, not demanding, get you back because people apparently love Acorn, and so it'd be cool to get a bit of an update on that, and Pegah, get to know you a little bit, and tell us what you guys have been up to in the ecosystem and how everything's unfolding.
Cool.
Yeah. So Pegah, do you want to start? Yeah, we'll start, I think, because Connor gave a little bit of an unfolding story of his experience, and a little bit of story and around Holochain, etc. But maybe do you want to give everyone a little bit of a sense of, again, who you are, what's important to you, and how Holochain came to be in your life and in your world?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how short I should say it, but
Pegah, one thing about these. So mate, I haven't read any of the YouTube comments. I'm sure I've told Connor this. It's my favorite story about the ecosystem sessions, but apparently in the first session after it was published, someone wrote, "Holochain make the most boring videos." And I knew we were on the right track. Now it could have been, someone could have just obviously, anything could have been fake about that comment, including, because I never looked at the YouTube post itself, it may not have ever been actually published, but it is on the right track. So reality is, it's as soon as I stop interrupting you, it's your space, and I don't get a sense that Connor's going to interrupt you. I'm not going to interrupt you. So really, you're here to tell you the story until it finishes. Now, if it goes for more than an hour, I probably will start talking. But just however long you want. We're not hurried by any particular format.
Okay. Just maybe to decrease the boringness, I can spice it up with some love story, because that's related to my story with Holochain. So a bit of background about myself. I've been all over the place. Like I was born in the US, in Portland, and I have Persian heritage. And so with my family, we moved back to Iran when I was less than 2 years old. And I grew up there for about 20 years. And I moved back to the States after that. And I was living there. And when I was living in the Bay Area, San Francisco, I had a visit to Portland for the first time after 20 years, just seeing my birthplace. And I took a train. I just decided to take a train back to the Bay Area, on my way back. And that's where I met Connor, on the train. And it was like a 16-hour, 18-hour ride. And we talked and talked and talked. And at the time, Connor was working on a project called MetaMaps. And anyways.
Also Hilo.
And Hilo, and yeah, so lots of things. And we
He
found
talked to you about work a lot, did he, on that train?
it felt like more of a like we were talking about our passion, and like we both found this kind of like passion work kind of connectedness between ourselves, and yeah, our interests really overlapped, and so yeah, we've emotionally and intellectually felt kind of connected, and at the time I actually met people at Holo a few days later. It was just before the US election in 2016. So yeah, we went out for the first time like on the night of the election, and everything felt like a big grandiose kind of a state of affairs that was happening at that moment, at that time.
Yeah.
Like,
just how there was like, and when we went out with Hilo for dinner, and we were supposed to be in Oakland, but then it turned out that there were like massive like Trump related protests on the street, and so like you couldn't just go to a restaurant in Oakland, that wasn't going to fly, and so there were like helicopters flying overhead, and it felt like a war scene, and then we had to go
to Berkeley
instead to meet like for dinner or something like that, because of the situation. The political situation was fascinating.
Yeah, so that's how we met, and now I'm here in Canada. I moved to Canada the next year, and it was through Connor, and that I learned about Holochain. He started working with Holo, and just talking about peer-to-peer technology and the concept of peer-to-peer technology. And at the time, I was researching, my background is art. I was researching on just the issue of censorship and surveillance in the arts, and like having grown up in Iran as an artist, just like really thinking deeply about it. I was thinking what are the ways that we can issue that concern that exists, that affects the art community for expression and communication. So the idea of peer-to-peer technology felt really connected. So yeah, that's how I guess I got involved, and did a lot of research on that, just the notion of content moderation and its relationship with a peer-to-peer technology, how affordances that P2P provides it can be a response to that, to those concerns.
Mm-hmm. And as the culmination of your thesis, of your master's, you curated this symposium on a sort of interdisciplinary symposium on that was a really fascinating combination of people who came from law backgrounds and artists and technologists, including some people from Europe and from I think was from Germany, who were working on mesh network kind of related stuff. So incorporating aspects of the physical infrastructural network layers even up, and then also incorporating the software based layers in the symposium. And I led a little workshop or a little session called Bursting the Cloud, which was about studying the history of peer-to-peer, starting with file sharing and its evolution into into like the modern protocols and stuff that are built for so multi-purpose, that have come out of it since then. Yeah, so the symposium was really interesting. At the same time, we had gone down to like DWeb, the DWeb conferences both times, and I brought Pegah along. Well, that's how it felt the first time. The second time, I think it wasn't just dragging you or anything. It was more, you were interested and enthusiastic. But it probably seemed a little bizarre at first, the whole DWeb.
I really loved actually the DWeb experience.
They were awesome.
Just like the keynote by Cory Doctorow. And
the whole Internet Archive group and Wendy Hanamura and
and the artists presenting their work there. I just felt like the diversity of the conversation there in the fields, I really appreciated that. Like, because I think that this interdisciplinary kind of discourse is important for what we are talking about. Like the whole like question of neutrality and just human rights related questions, I guess. So yeah, that was a great experience. DWeb Summit and Camp, and then we started a Sprillow together, Connor and I, just like putting our interests and skills together.
And well, you haven't talked about your design.
Oh yeah, I haven't talked about my design background. Yes, so I've been doing web design, UI and UX design for a while, for a couple of years now. And I just think about these interests that I have, like UX design, research, and just art. I think that they come together for me, thinking that how we can create more diversity and options for people to choose in terms of like information systems. Like I think there is a big relationship between like this implications of our data systems and how it impacts lives. Just really getting real about it, not just like abstract, but actually how it impacts lives and how we design data systems and information systems impacts those lives. So I'm really interested about the things that we utilize that would shape or change those implications. So that's why like we really are interested in creating more, adding to more diversity to information systems like that people can use, or accessibility to that, because that's also another matter. Accessibility, because it can exist, but it might be a barrier for many people to just be able to access it. It can be like digital literacy or other kinds of accessibility issues, which I'm also interested in.
Yes. And that spawns kind of like the thing that I mentioned to you in a message to David, which was this thing that Pegah had this fellowship through the Blackwood Gallery, right?
Yes.
Where the kind of, they were interested in her research that she had done and wanted to kind of support some further research. And the topic you proposed was kind of like to have something sort of experimental that would kind of somehow explore the affordances of peer-to-peer while making it more accessible. Like where it was like, okay, so here's a system that you have to accept that it comes with kind of a different paradigm, and yet how is one supposed to know what that different paradigm is? What are the different expectations you can make of the software if you flip the script and if you flip to that paradigm? So how are you supposed to know? So and how is it supposed to be made accessible to more people through, in a sense, an almost educational campaign or an educational kind of script? And so that was like the idea, to build this little app that would kind of show you what it was doing as it was doing it. And it's only sort of doing something, at least that feels fairly basic. Like we thought about, like, would it be just a tiny little game and it just tells you about what it's doing as it's doing it? Would it be like, and then I said, I emphasized, as I think I did last time, like there's lots of different technology choices that you can make for any given thing that you're dreaming up. Why would you kind of pick Holochain for something? Most likely because the way it performs the data validation has these affordances for kind of currency or economic, kind of like economic transactional exchange. So I propose that even if it was just so simple, it could just be like a little credit, a tiny little credit system where you can send people credits and they can send you credits. And so so Pegah designed, and I kind of played a supporting role in building this little experimental little app that not only like kind of teaches you about what it's doing as it's doing it, but it it has like a little interactive component, this little bot type chat thing, and then it also has this little
fake bot, actually.
A fake bot. It's not.
Can we see it?
Yeah, we set it up for you today.
The best. Let's look at it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool because it's a really good example of like what we're talking about and what we're passionate about, and in terms of like the research that Pegah has done and how that combines with kind of even the work that we've done on Acorn, because we've done the work on Acorn that we were able to very quickly and easily create this little system. So it'd be really fun to just share that off the bat, I think, because I think there was a lot of intro. Do you feel introduced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel introduced?
Yeah, it was a question. Do you feel
me?
introduced? Yeah, I'm saying, do you feel
like
introduced?
more than introduced.
Phenomenal. Okay, well, can't wait to see.
This is, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's exclusive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Make sure. Yeah, just kill that one.
Yeah.
You have to restart IMPDB.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one. Just pulling it up 1 second. Oh, get back to Turland.
Mm-hmm. Can do it on yours too. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, now let's screen share. Here we go. Yep.
Right.
So yeah, so it's called I am P2P, and it's supposed to be an self-explanatory software built on Holochain. It's kind of like an introduction to just P2P technology, and kind of showing itself how it works. So yeah, it says, welcome to I am P2P, which is me, the software you've just downloaded and opened. My purpose is to tell you a bit more about myself and other P2P peers like me. I mean, this is the purpose of my makers, which is us, Sprillow, which is now my purpose too, if that makes sense. You know, I think that we are a little less known to people using technology. It feels a bit lonely. Maybe you would find me interesting or perhaps intriguing or useful, or maybe not, and that's okay too. Are you ready to dive in? So then we have 3 components in the app: Converse, Play, and Glossary. In the Converse section, you have kind of like a fake chatbot function, which based on your amount of knowledge about peer-to-peer or just like in general data infrastructure, you can choose an answer or a question, and you can engage with the app itself. For example, what would you choose, David, based on this question?
What do you mean by peer-to-peer?
Okay, what do you mean by peer-to-peer? Okay, that's your only choice right now.
Great.
Can you explain a bit about this client-server model and how you're different from that model?
Most likely all the websites you know are hosted on a centralized data server, follows a client-server model. Same with Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, etc. Call themselves cloud. Most web content search engines, tools like FTP, are all based on client-server model. Peer-to-peer model, or a person or computer, is both supplier, server, and consumer client compared to the dividedness of supply and consumption of resources in a client-server model. And Pegah drew these little pictures even to incorporate into this and kind of share the pictures and give people just that really basic kind of idea of like what's different about this here.
So your next option is, okay, I think I'm getting it a bit more now. What are the implications of this type of networking architecture in P2P?
Okay, so then we talk about the implications, and we get to go into like whatever implications are more interesting for us.
So David, which one would you like to know more about?
I like to know something else.
Something? Okay.
Or something else. Well, you took the shortcut to the end. So that's the system. It's this funny little game of kind of like,
That's cool.
we created like a tiny little decision tree, right?
Yep.
you just go through and it plays the part. Like it's the whole thing is very limited in scope. It was kind of the point of the fellowship. Like it was not extensive in a lot of ways. It was to sort of even start to put together a direction that you could take, or something like that. Ways of educating people or that kind of thing. So we kind of like, I mean, most people did something totally different than what you did, which was they created videos. Most people's things were videos and not like an app. So it was a fairly ambitious thing to undertake, kind of just creating even an app, even in a very, very simple one. And so we kind of limited how far we went with it.
So it's a small scope sort of app, but it's kind of like an introductory kind of thing for people who are not familiar with P2P.
Mm-hmm.
So there is 2 other components in the app too, Play and Glossary. I'll just go to Glossary next because it's shorter. So there are some like terms that relates to data infrastructure and peer-to-peer technology that might just be kind of like difficult for people to understand. So there's a little like glossary that we put up together, and from left to right, it becomes more detailed. So on the left side, we have like protocol, like very general, broad concept. And then to the right that you go, like you have more detailed or more smaller scoped term.
On the kind of innermost layer, you see like stuff like distributed hash table and source chain. It's like it's kind of very it's so deep in terms of like what you have to have first kind of thought about, maybe at least a little bit, in order to maybe start to make sense of some of those parts that
it's
are
kind of like reverse engineering. Like okay, as a programmer, like as someone who writes Holochain, like would know like something like the DHT or like source chain, but then like how would you go back for someone that doesn't know how even like the basics of data infrastructure works? Like how do you bring it back and then like bring them in?
So each of these is actually a clickable, expandable kind of like thing that you can look at that definition and scroll through it kind of. And these definitions are also, because the glossary is here, you're actually kind of linked from those places in the chat into the glossary so that people can have that kind of depth of exploration at their own pace as part of the education process. Cool.
And then so we have a little game component.
This is the little currency, component. If you were just starting this and hadn't kind of like, it was just you get kind of this option, join a game or start a game. So you're kind of like, you're either there because someone invited you, or you're there as kind of an initiator and you're going to start a little game that other people are going to join. Mm-hmm. So the kind of like, for those who know the holochain like terminology and stuff like that, each time that you create a game, technically it's creating a distributed hash table. It's creating like its own private space where you're only seeing you're only seeing the peers who are in your game. You're not seeing kind of like everyone who has ever downloaded the app. So it was a conscious design decision that we made to make it so that this wasn't just like a kind of a big pool, an impersonal pool of people that kind of you might randomly show up into. It was more like the idea that you could almost even have a little bit of a kind of viral, not like broad viral, but just like this simple aspect of inviting your friend to download the app and to play, and that you would give them, so this invite a friend means that you give them this secret key, and that's someone's way to kind of join the game if they download it. And what that means is you're joining that private, that DHT network of the game that someone in particular started. So
yeah, so everyone that starts the game or joins the game, they are given a fictional currency, 100 of that, which is called cat credits. It's just like a funny name. But so yeah, so everyone starts with 100 cat credits in their wallet, and you can just test out how Holochain works by giving or getting some of these cat credits. And then you can see your wallet history here. So like if I want to send 10 cat credits to Connor, you can quickly see how Holochain is functioning here. And then now it's sent to Connor. Yeah. And Connor can see now that he received 10 cat credits from me.
We can see the reverse kind of the reverse action as well, which will be and by me sending it, it will appear kind of instantly.
It sends something like 12 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I instantly got the 12 cat credits from Connor, and it shows on my balance. So
that's happening. That's happening over one of the Holochain proxy servers for networking. It was one that we spawned up separately. Actually, it's the same one as we used for Acorn, just because they were using the same version of Holochain at the time. And so, yeah, just using one of the proxy servers to make sure that people don't have any kind of local, networking issues. And then, yeah, we were using the signals for how it sends Holochain signals for the kind of instant aspect, so that people see that information instantly. You saw you received 12 cat credits. That was like the moment that I took that action on the other computer. So the signals are the very fast part, and then but it's also propagating that little transaction in the DHT as well, which is the more resilient. It's the one that persists the data of the transactions. This is like a little activity history, and we made it so you could clear these, and it's just kind of showing you like what happened. It's kind of fun to see like when someone also joins the network, you see them.
What's that based on?
That's based on when you realize that there's a new peer, basically, like,
cool.
Someone, like someone, as soon as there's a new profile, basically, that it can pick up in the DHT, it's going to show you their avatar, and it's going to show you this little, thing. And so if it's your first time, and that happens instantly too. So if it's your first time, you're going to immediately see this, like, because there was some interesting stuff about the moment when it sort of requires both people to actually be online at the same time. And this is one of the differences from, like, say, cloud infrastructure and stuff like that. For the second person to join the game, the first person needs to be online. So what you actually require is this tight coordination between the person who makes the invitation and the person who receives the invitation and wants to accept it. Because in order to know that they've successfully joined this game that the other person has, it actually needs that other person to be online at the time when they try to join it. So, and that's only true for the first person. And then these are sort of shows you the principles of peer-to-peer and the principles of a DHT is that like the more people that there are, the fewer you would need, the more likely that there would be someone else online when someone new tries to come online. But just the fact that there's a dependency on at least one person being online for someone new to come online shows you an interesting little property of peer-to-peer that's not true about, that's not true about like the cloud infrastructure.
So yeah, that's IMP2P.
That's really, that's, I love it. Can we get a quick update on Acorn?
Sure.
Yeah.
We have that.
A crowd favorite.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's do this.
So our most recent kind of like objective was to tackle a thing that has sort of a notorious history within Holochain, which is kind of like how would you approach software upgrades? And we explored like last month kind of the user experience around that. Then we did hit kind of a bunch of complexity. We revisited the topic, we reevaluated it. We decided the simplest first step would be to make it so that you can just export a project, and you could already do that, but you couldn't import a project. So, so we figured people could migrate, they could update their software just manually. And at the same time, if you could have exported your data from one version, then you could import it into the next one, and people could be kind of like guided through that process for now in that way. And so we worked on the export import feature.
So that's the new feature that we'll see here.
No.
So we are now signed in. We're not going to go through the sign up process again. So here we are in the dashboard, and we have already 2 projects, but we'd like to, like we are imagining that this is a new version of the app. We have updated the app, and we have already exported the app, which I can show.
Exported a project?
Yeah, sorry, export the project, which is when you go to the project, you can click on export icon and export it as JSON, which is importable, or CSV, which is not. So if you have like a file, a JSON file of the project, keep that. And then here you are with an updated app. You can use the import feature here.
Yeah, so that's a new feature, is this import button. And
you can then browse this one.
Yeah. So you pick a JSON file, and yeah, it goes into its kind of loading state if it's a valid JSON file and a valid Acorn project, and then it's migrating all your kind of data from that version into the new project which is created, which is again in an Acorn situation, that's actually like a new DHT too. Each project is a private DHT. So yeah, so this one has like a number of different like of goals that it's going through the process of importing, and there's all of this different kinds of metadata that exists in a project, because you've got goals, you've got what we call edges, which are the relationships between goals, then you've got goal comments, goal votes, goal members, which are the idea of sort of like, is someone assigned to this or that kind of thing. And it's importing all of those things, as well as these things that we call entry points, which are kind of like frames in Miro or something, kind of like a context box for a specific part. Let's see.
So depending on how big your project is, the time for importing would be different. Do you think that's not the case?
No, I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm guessing that something went wrong.
Okay. So we can try.
It has timeouts. Let's see. Oops. Oh, socket is not open. Okay, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
We totally.
Okay, we totally forgot about one fact that.
Messed that up. While we're running IMPDP again, we got to be more careful about switching between those two, because it's.
Okay, yeah. A fun fact, because we forked for IMPDP, we forked Acorn code base, and so we wrote IMPDP based on Acorn. And so there are some similarities there that we haven't touched. So we have to close IMPDP right now if you want to pull up Acorn. So that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's being very naive.
Yeah. But that's showing how it's a good resource now. We have built Acorn, we can just fork it and not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, especially because it takes a long time and a lot of work to do the sort of to create the infrastructure, all the build commands and everything like that around a project, around a Holochain project. So yeah, it's very useful to have kind of something like a template that you can start from and go off of, and know that the general stuff is there to get started. Okay, so I think we're going with this now. Let me just quickly check. Yeah,
it's working.
Yeah. There.
Yep.
Yay.
Oh, nice.
Yay.
Adoption of peer-to-peer was the name of the project. With 7 goals was successfully imported. So that brings in this this project, and it should have all of its kind of contents and metadata in the same fashion as it was exported. So this was like a little test map that I created about what would need to happen maybe for peer-to-peer become like adopted around the world. Yeah, so that's the import-export feature, which helps us with kind of the migrating between versions, which you have. You kind of need something along those lines. It either needs to be an automated process of migrating, or it can be a slightly more manual process of migrating between those versions. And we've kind of at least explored this manual one, and we've done the design for the automated one, but we did find that the implementation was going to prove quite challenging, and we're still kind of lining up for that automated experience of migrating between software versions with Holochain. It's actually a really interesting design problem as well as technical problem.
Did we talk about entry points?
I don't know
before?
if we've kind of really shown entry points, just to show it quickly.
Yeah, so we have this feature called entry points, which acts as kind of like a gateway for a card, for a specific goal card that can be accessed from the dashboard. So just to show you, for example, what I'm talking about. For example, I want to create, make this an entry point. I go to the expanded view mode, and there's this slow icon, a door icon. When I open the door, that shows, this card becomes an entry point. And I can see also here the list of my entry points here. And now if I go back to dashboard, here under the title of the project, there's a saying 1 entry point, and it shows here, shows up here. So if you have multiple entry points within like a huge map, and you have these like points that you want to like tag or something,
really draw people's attention to if you're kind of co-managing a large or complex project. Yeah, so that like if you want to directly go to that, it will bring you to this section that starts from that entry point, and any other children that card has. That's an entry point. Yeah, so it sort of encapsulates everything inside of or under, that's nested under that goal as part of that entry point. So it kind of becomes this encapsulation of the kind of entire scope, because based on the mental model of Acorn, this thing, all of these things are included in the scope of this thing. And so that's why we get this sort of visual frame, and it feels kind of, and if we create new information into the map, it kind of, it will push it kind of separately outside of that and indicate that separation.
So if we make
that way,
that
it also shows you that it's,
it becomes
expands
part of it. Yeah.
So it's more dynamic than something that you see in Miro, which is kind of like just a rectangle. It has no mental model, but this is an encapsulation and kind of expands and shrinks to the, it's a container that expands and shrinks to the size of the contents. Yeah, and you can have multiple, and multiple can be showing at the same time, just showing, showing that kind of part of it too. Put this one over here. Make that one 1, 2. And then you can actually bring focus to multiple at the same time, and it's kind of showing them here, and it's also showing that these entry points are in focus kind of up here. So it's a way of, because these trees, like we're just showing kind of small ones, but in reality, these trees are going to grow really large as you actually are using, as you're using this. So so we felt that it was really important to incorporate a way to better access and organize the information, especially from the dashboard, which is.
So now you see 2 entry points here.
So those are, I think, the new kind of features in Acorn, and the only other kind of aspect, well, the other aspects of what's been done on it is largely kind of invisible to the user interface. There are a bunch of like stylistic improvements that Pegah's made, but the other stuff is like over the last month or two, Holochain's gone through major breaking changes as they kind of have have done a big upgrade to the, in particular, like the HAP installation process and the way that DNAs are managed and HAPs are managed in the Holochain conductor and stuff like that. And so we kind of waited a little bit with Acorn for the dust to settle a little bit on that stuff before trying to make the update. And so we recently did the big update, and it went over fairly smoothly, which was really nice, because it can be hard to find your way around and to figure out all what exactly has changed and that kind of thing. I know that a lot of developers are kind of really struggling with that with Holochain right now. If you're like kind of building on it, trying to build on it consistently. So yeah, I'm excited to again basically share the code of Acorn soon, and to kind of show, to give people another shot at a working code base that's all kind of up to date, and that hopefully is easy for people to like to kind of grab onto as an example of like here's a full-fledged piece of software that's running on it, and here's how we've configured it to make that work. So I'll share the link with you, David and Steph, for that like after this.
Super.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I think I'm going to pause it there. I know you guys have been doing other stuff, but it might set up some other time in a few weeks to come and chat about that. Because
Yeah.
I think you've just, that was all phenomenal.
Yeah, there'll be lots to like,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of material, or there's a lot that's there that can be unpacked from what we've gone over. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you have any immediate sort of takeaways or just impressions or?
Yeah, I got pretty excited because I was looking at Snapmail last week, and then like chatting with Eric on Sin, and then seeing what you're doing with Acorn and thinking about Acorn combined with Sin, combined with IMP2P and some of the potential applications there already. And like my mind's whirring a little bit, seeing how some stuff can come together.
Mm.
But I think I'm also I'm just really appreciative of, as you just said, Connor, a few things actually, what I just saw. So Pegah, it's just so nice to see that design ethos come through so early on, and in the ecosystem. It just like that, it came through last time, but you can see it even more strongly tonight or today, looking at Acorn. And it's nice to just see something treated with that like form of reverence or whatever, because usually in the Holochain demos, it's kind of like everything's like kind of slapped together. And so it's nice to say, and then Connor, I love the idea of like sharing and people see your working Holochain code base and just your commitment to that. So I feel really appreciative of what you guys have shared. And I think like having been in this world for a little while, sometimes it's those really simple things, even in the IMP2P, and seeing the notifications of the wallet and just thinking about like what that can start to mean. Like it's actually really, really exciting to see, just seeing that. It looks so simple, but knowing the work that goes into making that possible in a peer-to-peer and then fashion, and then knowing what might be possible just because of the way that credit is shared as you start to extend that out. It gets me excited to see how real it's becoming.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just to recap, excited to just work on on peer-to-peer technologies like Holochain, and really bringing that design perspective into it, and with the intention to make it more accessible for a broader audience. That's really what we are hoping for.
So,
yeah.
You go for it, Connor.
Yeah, and growing, like just knowing that the space is still nascent and full of potential, and like kind of seeing the opportunities that are growing every day to like apply the technology concretely in the world, the landscape of business. Like we're trying to build this business and grow it, and kind of see it flourish, and the technology flourish, and our purpose, you know, the social purpose and environmental purpose flourish. Like seeing all of these things as part of what's like ripe right now, that's happening. It's exciting, and thanks for creating the opportunity for us to share what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Well, I'll just, thanks everyone for watching. So yeah, thanks so much, Pegah and Connor from Sprillow. Great to have you back, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Great. Yeah. See you soon.